Let's start from the top with the AFC. Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to be the MVP. I pretty much, I think it's set in stone. We'll see. But going against Patrick Mahomes, who has been to the AFC Championship every year that he's been a starter. That's a crazy stat. So kudos to him as well. But facing off against the Chiefs, who struggled at the beginning of the year to kind of put things together, we saw him go through kind of a drought, and that they didn't have a go-to guy in the receiving core. We saw the mess that Kadarius Toney made, but now they kind of have a guy in Rashee Rice who solidified himself, pulled it together. We saw Travis Kelce come to life a little bit in the game against the Bills, so that's good to see him back up and rolling. I know he had a tough couple of games at the end of the season, and as well as the beginning of the playoffs. So very uncharacteristic of him, but two of the best quarterbacks in the game going head to head in Baltimore. Baltimore gets the home field advantage in this case. There's plenty to talk about. Ravens are they got 3 in the hook. They're favored by 3.5. The point total is sitting right around 44.5, 45. So a little bit lower total than I expected. But if we look at the weather, it's high of 49 degrees, low of 37, not too cold, but there's a 55% chance of rain. So that's something to monitor and consider when thinking about this game. I'll just go ahead and jump right into the model. The model has the Ravens 25-20. So sitting around the total, but beating out the point spread a little bit by 1.5. We can talk a little bit of whether or not, what kind of plays into that and what maybe the model sees. But before we get into it, man, I want to hear your initial thoughts on this line, who you think is going to win, and kind of some key matchups that you're highlighting, and maybe some actionable stats. Just off the top, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to say is we kind of were, the Chiefs were kind of middle of the pack mid-season, and we were kind of both on them getting it turned around and making the playoffs like they always do. Is that 7 years in a row, you said?
I think it's
making
6
the
years.
AFC Championship?
6 years, I think.
6.
7.
Yeah,
6 or 7.
It's really incredible because no matter who they have on their team, I mean, they miss a lot of pieces, but they always have Mahomes, and I don't like Mahomes, but he's really good. And I mean, it's, back to dominant Kelce. He's been pretty much non-existent all year. He's kind of distracted, and he's got to worry about the wedding. But he came out to play today, and it was really amazing to see that. The Chiefs versus Bills is
the gift that keeps on giving.
It's just so good, and
it is.
Mahomes always wins. He's the dad. Josh is a little baby.
And I texted you this morning too, before, and there was a fun conversation. And I made the analogy that Patrick Mahomes is the Tom Brady to Josh Allen's Peyton Manning, and Josh Allen would probably have at least one Super Bowl right now.
Oh yeah,
if he wasn't in the same conference as Patrick Mahomes. And you could say the same for Peyton Manning. It took 8 years for Peyton Manning to win his first Super Bowl because he was stuck in the same conference as Tom Brady. How unfortunate. So
yeah, if I was a Bills fan, I'd end it all, man. I mean, what is that, like 3 years in a row of losing to Patty and the Chiefs?
The good news is that they have Josh Allen locked up. The bad news is that they are one of the worst teams in terms of salary cap hits for this next year. So they're going to have to cut a lot of loose ends and do a lot of finagling to clear up some key roster space, financially speaking. So going to be an interesting offseason for the Bills. But getting back to the Chiefs, one thing we want to kind of talk about is, well, first of all, we have two really, really strong defenses. Okay. We saw so the Ravens defense did not give up a single touchdown. It was actually the special teams that gave up the kick return. So the Ravens defense just pretty much silenced the offensive rookie of the year, which I would argue that CJ Stroud actually had a great game. And a lot of people would be like, what? He didn't do anything. But go back and watch it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. He made a lot happen. He didn't get sacked, albeit being pressured at one of the highest rates that he's ever been pressured at in the NFL, which, again, this is rookie season, so this is the only year that he's been in the NFL. But still, I think he did great for a rookie quarterback, all things considered. But this Ravens defense is going to be the toughest test that Patrick Mahomes has faced all year. And Now, on the contrary, you can say that the Chiefs defense will also pose a problem for Lamar Jackson. So one highlighted matchup that I wanted to talk about was the big hole for me in the Kansas City Chiefs offense is, so if you look at the numbers, they're actually 6th overall in offensive EPA per play allowed, but it's skewed a little bit. They're 2nd overall in EPA per pass allowed. They're 30th overall in EPA per rush allowed. And we saw that with the Bills. The Bills actually had their way in the running game there, especially in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen and James Cook did. And so that's my area of concern for maybe the Chiefs. Knowing that the Ravens are one of the most dominant run teams in the league. So that's kind of an area of concern that I see over for the Chiefs. One thing too is, man, we saw this Ravens team really flip it around at halftime against the Texans. And what we saw too was the Ravens, they had a game plan, they had a script. Tom Monken had an idea of what he wanted to do, and the Texans came out and pressured them uncharacteristically high, and they were having a lot of success. And what the Ravens were trying to do the first half is they were trying to stretch the field and generate explosive plays. But at halftime, they came out and shortened the field a little bit, and they started dinking and dunking and really leaning into the run game, especially with Lamar Jackson. So Ravens, I think they got it all. They're extremely well-rounded, and they're good to go. Patrick Mahomes, though, we've seen it. He is only getting better, it feels like, as the season goes on. And this team is starting to get comfortable with each other. We've seen Rashee Rice establish himself as that dude, and kind of a big game from MVS. He's had a lot of mishaps this year, and we see this with MVS. So, maybe they actually have a respectable unit as time's gone on. So it's going to be juicy, man. But I kind of can see where this game might be a little bit under the total, especially if there's rain. But man, I'm just curious. Hey, do you see Mahomes being able to exploit this Ravens defense? But
no, look, here's the thing. I haven't seen a more dominant defense in a long time. They're so good. They tackle really well. They can play whatever they want. They're good on all facets. Linebackers, defensive linemen, defensive backs, and Mac McDonald, right? Mm-hmm. He's done a great job as their defensive coordinator. And I think that it actually bodes a little bit well for the Chiefs that Patty doesn't just have one guy, because if he went primarily to one guy, I think they'd be locked down. Mm-hmm. But he spreads the ball out so much and throws it to everybody that I think that actually bodes a little bit well in there. However, no, I don't think that. I think this defense is going to stay true to what they've been doing all season. They're going to dominate.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the ball, I just think it's like if I was the Ravens coach, the Ravens are 10th in the league in RPO rate at 4.6%, but I'd run an RPO every single damn play, especially because the Chiefs play a lot of man because you've got Lamar there. If it's not open, I mean, someone's got Lamar. So it's probably just one guy if they're going to man up on the outside. So I think that the Ravens are going to take what the Chiefs give them, and they got to give them something. And they've been smart with that all year. So if they continue to do that, I think they'll be able to exploit the Chiefs defense, even though they played really well all year.
Yeah. And one thing I want to point out too, we talked about this the last show, and there's a clip out there where I even went through the trouble of making a short. Originally, I would have liked the Bills last week if they were all healthy, but the problem is that the defensive side of the ball for the Bills were depleted, especially in their linebacking core. They only had 4 active linebackers in that game, and one of them even got hurt. So they were working with 3 linebackers in that game, and the Chiefs exploited it. They had one of their most successful games on the run ground. Isaiah Pacheco was just getting chunk after chunk after chunk. And that's not something the Chiefs are going to be able to go into Baltimore and do. They're not going to be able to go up against Patrick Queen and company and just get chunks of yardage in the run game. They're going to get stymied. And I'm sure they may have some successful plays here and there, and they may find, a decent game plan in the ground game, but they are not going to find those continuous chunk plays that they found against the Bills because they're much healthier and much more talented on the defensive side of the ball. The Ravens are.
Yeah.
Especially in comparison to the Bills.
Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith together in the middle of the field is sickening.
It's not fair. It's
like
not
sickening.
Fair.
Like how do you expect anybody? And they've been great all year. And
yeah. And it's and then like their defensive line too. They have one of the best pressure rates in the entire league. I mean, it's crazy, you know. And they have Jadeveon Clowney, who's really had a kind of career revival. Matabuke, oh my gosh, dude, he is balling, and he's doing a lot of stuff that you won't necessarily see on the stat sheet, or you know, you can't really quantify it. But if you look at kind of the attention that he gets, it's Grady Jarrett type stuff from the Falcons, and you know, I won't say Aaron Donald, but it's getting up there. He'll get paid. He's earned himself a lot of money. And then Kyle Van Noy, you know, he's coming off the couch this season, and he's generating pressure as well. It's crazy. And I just think that this Baltimore defense at home, compared to the Buffalo defense that they just faced, will be night and day difference just because of health alone, but even talent. You know, they have the talent and the ability to match up in the secondary. You know, there's really no matchup like mismatch that the Chiefs wide receivers impose. You know, I think Rashee Rice can operate really well in the middle of the field and kind of be a, you know, obviously he's become a great target for Mahomes, but who else? You know, they're going to need somebody else.
I mean, normally Kelce's a mismatch, but he's going to be guarded by Roquan Smith or Patrick Queen most of the time. So it's like, or Kyle Hamilton or whatever, and you can't get past it.
And am I crazy to say that watching Travis Kelce, it's not that he's necessarily declined, but it's almost as like he looks like he doesn't want to absorb those tackles anymore.
Probably not.
Like
I wouldn't.
Rather than squaring up with, you know, a defender one-on-one and just like trying to run through him, it just seems like he's very like reluctant to absorb that contact. And so
as soon as he makes a catch over the middle of the field, he peeks, and if he sees anybody, he's like, I'm going down. I'm going down.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy what they're able to do.
Let's get down to it here. I think so. Just want to say it's 6:19 on Monday, and I got the Ravens -3 on DraftKings. So I know this is going to come out tomorrow, but I take -3 all day. I also take -3.5. I think the Ravens are the best team in the NFL, and I think they're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Baltimore.
Yeah. And in all fairness, I've taken Ravens -3 too. I got it before it jumped up to 3.5. So I thought that was important for me. I really do think the Ravens pull it out here. I think it's going to be close though, but I also see a path where this is like 27-20 or something like that in favor of the Ravens. But we've talked about, well, before I leave this conversation, the Ravens offense. We mentioned the adjustments that they made on the defense or at halftime to be able to come out and whip up on the Texans in that second half of the game. So we know they can make the adjustments. They run the offense extremely smooth, I feel like. And one thing that I think is very important to highlight is now what makes the Ravens even more dangerous than what they used to. The 2019 playoffs where the Titans beat the Ravens. They forced Lamar Jackson to use his arm, and they were successful because Lamar Jackson at that time wasn't a developed passer. But Lamar Jackson is so robust at the quarterback position. I think he opens up so many doors. And if you try and squeeze the pocket, if you pressure him, he can escape and hit somebody on the fly. If you try and drop a bunch of men in coverage, then he will pick you apart and hit every void in the zone. And now he's got the offensive weapons where you can dump it off and let him run. The run game is phenomenal. The offensive line is finally good to go. Ronnie Staley, you know, for the first time in forever, has gone on a streak of good health. So it's just, I mean, do I need to say more about the Ravens offense?
I think we know they can do it all. I think we said too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just leave it at that. Let's talk about the ways in which the Chiefs win. Now, that's an interesting conversation for me because they're not going to be able to lean on the run game like they usually have. So what is it going to take? It's going to take a masterclass game from Patrick Mahomes, which he can do. And I think it's really going to, if the Chiefs win, I'm willing to bet that Patrick Mahomes has 50 plus rushing yards.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's going to have to generate a ton of plays off script, scrambling for those first yards. And then he's going to have to find, well, you know, it's tough for me because, man, the Chiefs don't have that guy, that second guy, you know, like a lot of attention's going to be on Rashee Rice and, of course, Travis Kelce, but they're going to need MVS to stand up and create an explosive play or two. You know, Kadarius Toney may come back and that might be the bane of the Chiefs' existence next week, but they're going to need somebody other than Rashee Rice or Travis Kelce to step up and create an explosive play for this offense.
They need everybody to show up because the Ravens win the matchup on almost every single position, if not all of them.
And
I would say
they're going to have to be perfect. They're going to have to be perfect. And I think for me too, one of the key stats that the Chiefs ended the regular season with is they had the highest drop rate in the NFL at 6.9%.
Yeah, it's just Kadarius Toney, man.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
So, I know it's funny. He's been out. He's been hurt for the entire playoffs. So they find all the success correlation.
Yeah,
maybe.
I wanna put a little bit of a different perspective on this. You were talking about ways the Chiefs can win, and you went immediately to the offense. I don't think it matters. I think that the Chiefs defense have to keep them under 20 points in order for the Chiefs to win. I think the Chiefs defense has to play amazing. And let's say I don't think there's a lot of avenues for the Chiefs to win. If they can run the ball, that'd be good. I don't think they're going to be able to. But the Chiefs defense has to be able to lock down Lamar in all facets. And do I think that they can do that? Not really. But I also think that the Chiefs aren't going to score more than 20 points. So if just by the Ravens' sheer will on their defense. So I think the only path for them to win is for the Chiefs defense to hold the Ravens. Step up. That's really the only way. I don't think it matters.
And their passing defense, their passing defense can do it. I think that's what they have going for them. They're a top 3 team in terms of passing success allowed and EPA per pass allowed. The kicker is what's also going to make it tough is Mark Andrews might be coming back healthy.
Yeah,
one of Lamar's top weapons. L'Jarius Sneed has been the go-to guy in the Chiefs secondary. He can't cover everybody at once, so they're going to need some other guys to step up. I agree. But circling back to what I've already mentioned, the Kansas City run defense is of major concern for me, and I think that's what pushed me over the top to lean towards Baltimore's way. Is, man, it's seeing what happened, what the Bills did in Buffalo to that run defense. It's hard for me to believe that they're going to go to Baltimore, to a better team that's more well-rounded than the Bills, and then also find that success.
Yeah.
So, hey, I mean, don't get me wrong. The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. But statistically speaking, probabilistically speaking, the Ravens have a much better chance to win. The model likes the Ravens to cover. I like the Ravens to win. I like the Ravens to cover. Not really taking anything on the points, but everything's pointing the Ravens' direction, man. And we were high on Baltimore coming into the season, and I will be high on Baltimore leaving the season. So,
hey, let me hear a first touchdown score in this game.
Okay. First touchdown scorer. So Gus Edwards, he went out with a hand injury, but he's fine. You know what? It's got to be Gus. They're just gonna run it down the throat the entire time. Yep. Give me Gus. I like Gus.
Yeah, I was gonna say him, so I can't now. So I guess I'll go. I'm gonna go with they draw the attention to Andrews, but likely he's on the field at the same time. I'm gonna go likely.
Yeah, I like that.
Likely.
Like that. It's got to be like the favorable pick.
It's a Raven
game.
It's a Raven.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Like, I think Bucker might kick the field goal first. Like, Chiefs get the ball first, 3 points.
That's
Ravens score. Chiefs punt, Ravens score, Chiefs punt, Ravens score, halftime, Ravens score. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's end on looking at some of the betting splits. So 47% of the bets are on the Chiefs, but only 36% of the handles on the Chiefs. So 53% of the tickets are on the Ravens, 64% of the money is on the Ravens. That's a differential of about 11% in favor of money. So big money coming on the Ravens. That's kind of a good sign. If you're on the Raven side, if you're one of those people who only bets on who the public is not taking, then have fun taking the Chiefs. I won't join you, but it's something to note. So both of us are on Baltimore, and both of us are on Baltimore to cover the spread. So looking forward to that game. Go Ravens.